It's military reminisce day. So every Sunday I'm gonna, I make my videos talking about, stories in the military, things I loved about my time, and stories that I think are cool, and I can talk about now and have some fun, reminiscing a little bit. So today we're gonna talk about the Golden Walk I had as a Ranger instructor. So if you don't know what a Golden Walk is, a Golden Walk. So when you're a Ranger instructor, you obviously teach soldiers how to be at their lowest common denominator and push through and finish the objective down to the last Ranger, okay? So you take a Ranger in a sense, you take a soldier in a sense, and you take all his food away, you give him minimal sleep, and it's a bunch of alpha males, and so it's kind of cool, if you've ever heard the term too many chiefs, not enough Indians, there's too many chiefs, not enough Indians, but like essentially that's what Ranger School is. It's a bunch of alpha male and alpha female A-type leaders that are starving and tired as hell, and you have to lead them and complete a mission. So it is the best leadership school there is, okay? Because you have to get other alpha males who think they have a better idea to follow you and kill for you when they just want to go to sleep or they just want to eat, okay? But that's what makes Ranger School the best leadership school, I think, and I was so honored and privileged to be an instructor there. Now, best time I had in the Army. But I will say a sad part of being a Ranger instructor, and especially me getting out as a Ranger instructor, that was like my last, I hung my hat on my, tan beret, instructor hat, if you will. The sad part is the Golden Walk. So the Golden Walk is it's basically an encompassing of you. When you're a Ranger instructor, you walk with the Rangers and on missions, and you grade them, and you either give them a go or no go on the mission, and they try and earn their tab. Your Golden Walk as a Ranger instructor is your last walk. It's your last time you will walk with the students. So it's like an accomplishment walk, but at the same time, it is very sad. But I will say, and I'll throw up some videos right here of my Golden Walk. Basically what a Golden Walk is, so in a sense there's three things you can do, okay? As a Ranger instructor, you can either just buy stuff or buy breakfast or buy food for your Ranger or make food for your Ranger instructor team. You can give all the students that you're grading a go, because essentially that's the last time, that's what you're going out on. No Ranger instructor wants to go out on a no-go. But some do. Or you would make it really difficult on the Ranger students that day, but you would essentially give them like a treat at the end of the night. So and I'll get into what I did, but basically when I was in Ranger School, we had a Golden Walk in Mountains, and he gave us Little Caesars pizza. And then you kind of do your final speech as like a Ranger instructor. Like, hey guys, I loved my time here, I made that whole video. I was actually getting a little not choked up, but I was kind of stumbling over my words, because it was something I kind of did plan to say, but when you're there in front of the Rangers that are learning from you, and your time's up. And for me, I was getting out of the Army. I wasn't just moving. So I was a little I started stumbling over my words trying to get out what I was trying to say, but it was sad, but it was cool too. It was a great moment. Number one, I was very lucky that as a Ranger instructor, obviously each class, sometimes you get really bad classes, sometimes you get really good classes, and then sometimes it's a mix. And good just means in the sense of a good group, experienced group, a motivated group. I was very lucky that my last class was I was a Charlie Company Ranger, was a class that was so motivated and they got after it. They were intense on objective. They didn't fight. They didn't complain. I was lucky, and I knew it was going to be my last class. Obviously, none of the Rangers did, but I knew it was coming. So I was very happy that it was these guys. So in a sense, because I was getting out and I did all three. Okay, I went out and bought my Ranger instructor team energy drinks and lunch, and then I essentially I spent hundreds of dollars on these Ranger students, because I wanted to make sure they all got because when I was a Ranger student and he brought us Little Caesars, it was everybody got one pizza slice, and then we heard his last speech after our mission. So for me, our thing was basically I wanted to have essentially chaos, that entire day it was chaos. And it's cool because you get to pick your walk team, so I picked my two brother Ranger instructors that I had the most fun with and learned a lot from. Shout out to Sergeant Jackal, shout out to wish I could speak. Shout out to Sergeant Jackal, my boy JJ, and shout out to old Sergeant First Class Lewis, my other boy. So, in a sense, it was chaos. I wanted chaos. I wanted chaos all day. We just, hit them, just beat them down all day. And like I said, I was lucky with the class, but they responded very well and earned that day. But I spent hundreds. I wanted to on objective, so they were gonna we beat them up all morning, and then at the end of one of the objectives that they took, there was PIR, okay, priority information requirements that you have to get. So it was like a mission of you have to get this PIR and you have to bring it to, base. You have to bring it back. This intelligence, if you will. So just think of it was intelligence, but it was a giant black tough box full of sodas, pizza, chips, candy, just everything. But I counted it out. It was enough so they will all get one. Now, I just want to preface this by saying, essentially, those are the three things you can do. A Ranger Instructor can do none of them. He can do all three of them, or he can just treat it like a normal walk. I've heard of horror stories where a Ranger Instructor just treated it like a normal walk, and that's fine. To each their own. Me, I wanted to go out. Y'all know how I am. I'm eccentric. I do everything, over the top. We wanted to go all out. So they were going to carry this tough box and they did 4 hours. So I picked the long walk day, which I'm not going to tell you what day it is, but we picked the long walk, our longest movement, and they carried it, and they had to switch off, and the box was heavy as hell. And then they were hitting other objectives. I put a combo lock on it. They were hitting other objectives, and they got a combo number at each objective. Okay, so at the end of the night, then they had to, how many combinations of 3 numbers, if I give you how many different combinations can you come up with? I think they ended up getting it on the second or third try, but they had to put the numbers together, right? So I did my last speech. We let them open it up. Now, I will say, we kind of did want to test them a little bit at the end of the night. It was a good platoon, like I said, but we did say, okay, Rangers, you can have whatever's in this tough box, or you can get all goes, but you're not getting both. Which one? And they all unselfishly, like a real Ranger does, said, we'll take the box. We don't care. We know it's full of probably a lot of goodies, but we'd rather have the goes. And it was just it's just y'all go make Dad proud in here. And it's you want to start crying. It's just that's what I'm talking about, Rangers. That's the whole point of the school, is that you will be your brother's keeper. Okay, so, and bust your ass and essentially die for your brother if you had to. So, we gave them the combo. They opened it up, and they went crazy. It was a great night. They all got fat and happy. I will say that for me, it was very endearing giving my last speech as a Ranger Instructor. Like I said, I was getting out. My time came to, ahead, so it was time to get out. But just hearing, I think, not only was that my favorite job in the Army, but being an instructor, period, I still get hit up from, students. I was a bartender in Columbus, Georgia, and I remember a third battalion, some third bat Rangers would come in and be like, oh, dang, you were my Ranger Instructor, and just getting the comment of not you're a civilian now, they can say whatever the fuck they want, and when they still have respectful, nice things to say about you, or how they can tell I cared as a passionate instructor, it meant a lot. So, golden walks are awesome, golden walks are intense, but just know, that's my story, but they don't always happen. Don't get your hopes up if you have an aspiring to go to Ranger School. They don't always happen. Sometimes they're few and far between. Sometimes they're not all great. But I will end with this. I did end up giving 3 goes, but it was almost like it was meant to be, because I even got a really good variety of what Ranger School grading is. So I had a young specialist from Ranger Battalion, okay? So, and if you know anything about Ranger Battalion kids, it's they come in with a lot of tenacity, action, they're tacticians, they're very motivated, they're intense, respectful. They are essentially, they were my favorite people to grade at Ranger School just because of how intense and how knowledgeable they were. And then, so he earned it, he killed it. And then I had a young E5 from 82nd, so a paratrooper. And when I went to Ranger School, I was a paratrooper. And I was brag this, brag that, 173rd this, 173rd that. I'm a paratrooper through and through. It's my favorite, being a jump master was my favorite thing ever. Being a jump master instructor was probably the sprinkles on the ice cream for me as when I was in the Army. So being airborne is something I've always held so near and dear to my heart. I always say airborne all the time. So getting to grade a NCO young buck getting after it from the 82nd, exactly like I was when I went to Ranger School, was cool, and he was awesome. He killed it. And then I had an officer. I had a young IBOLC officer, and she was a female, and she ended up she was a recycle the first time, but she's one of those recycles, and everybody knows this. Ranger School needs recycles. They need people that have done the phase before so they can help facilitate, knowledge. But she was just one of those, made all the products, really smart, grinder. She earned her go, she killed it. And I was very very honored that those are the 3 people I got with that variety, and they killed it. I mean, she was platoon sergeant, second platoon sergeant for the long walk at night, carrying that tough box, running up and down. If you know anything about a ruck march, especially at Ranger School, when you're a platoon sergeant, you are running the entire time up and down, making sure the squad leader's moving, making sure everyone's up, making sure everyone stays together. It is one of the hardest looks you will get. A long walk platoon sergeant look is one of the hardest looks you will ever get. It is devastating, okay? I got one. I was RTO. I had to follow the platoon sergeant on a night long walk in mountains when I went to Ranger School, and you want to kill yourself. Like, you want to die. Like, it's just physically so demanding that you, trust me, you earn it. So that's my story. That was my golden walk. But remember, keep in mind, results may vary. Rangers lead the way.